Progressive presidents. Today we're going to talk about the presidents of the progressive era. And they were mostly Republicans. William McKinley, Theodore Roosevelt, William Howard Taft, and Woodrow Wilson, the lone Democrat. First, William McKinley, 1896 to 1901. McKinley was interested in fighting the negative effects of big business, and he thought that government needed some regulation to rein in some of those Gilded Age social Darwinism excesses that we talked about in the last unit. And although the Sherman Antitrust Act had been passed, he didn't actually use it to break up any monopolies. McKinley was assassinated in 1901 at the Pan American Exposition in Buffalo, New York, and his vice president, Theodore Roosevelt of New York, became president. Theodore Roosevelt, the 26th president, 1901 to 1908, was a really interesting guy. He was very progressive, he was very interested in reform, and he did a lot of interesting stuff before he even became president. Can't you tell? Here's a lineup of his progressive policies. Remember, progressive, all about changing things and making them better. Reforming business, food and medicine safety, and he also initiated the United States' first conservation policies. So he fought monopolies using the Sherman Antitrust Act, for example, Standard Oil. He passed the Pure Food and Drug Act, Meat Inspection Act, after reading The Jungle. He regulated railroads, established conservation policies, and he greatly expanded the national park system. William Howard Taft, his successor, continued fighting monopolies, but he was a much more low-key person than Roosevelt, and there was not as much dramatic change during his presidency. And after he was president, he was eventually appointed Supreme Court Justice. In the election of 1912, Taft was nominated by Republicans for a second term. Woodrow Wilson of Virginia was nominated by the Democrats. But Theodore Roosevelt felt he still had a lot of things to do, so he decided to run for president again himself with a party called the Progressive Party that we didn't really have time to talk about this year. And I think the name Progressive says it all. There were also two other political parties running candidates that you don't even need to know about. So there were a total of 5 guys running for president in 1912. Do you remember from earlier in the year what happens when 2 candidates split a political party? When you have more than 2 or 3 people running for president? Do you remember what election that was? Interesting, but not necessarily important. The Progressive Party got nicknamed the Bull Moose Party. They got that nickname when Roosevelt said he was as fit as a bull moose after surviving an assassination attempt while he was giving a campaign speech. Well, when there's more than 2 candidates or multiple candidates or a pair of candidates split one party up, whether it's Democrats or Republicans, that party usually loses because they don't get enough votes. So Taft and Roosevelt split the Republican vote, and they lost to Democrat Woodrow Wilson. Woodrow Wilson, his reform policy was known as the New Freedoms. He established the Federal Trade Commission to oversee business practices, especially on Wall Street, to prevent cheating and corruption. He did not believe in votes for women. He did not believe in any kind of rights for African Americans. He was a Democrat from Virginia. In fact, up until this point, the White House had not been segregated, and he initiated a segregation program in the White House. But during his administration, the 16th through 19th Amendments passed, including votes for women because, well, the women really put the pressure on him, as we saw in a previous lesson. And how did stuffed bears get to be called teddy bears anyway? Well, that's a story for enrichment or another day.